let this information out.
The most enduring experiments have been in the field of remote viewing. We got into it when we discovered that they were in it.
I realized that what people can do is quiet their mind and describe the experiences that appear in your awareness.
We've been investigating a phenomenon called remote viewing. We found that many individuals are able to accurately describe what's going on in distant locations, blocked from any kind of ordinary perception.
Don't name it, just tell me what appears in your visual field, and then draw that.
Are you saying that the work you've been doing is classified?
I really can't talk about matters of classification, as you can imagine.
My name is Russell Targ, and I'm a physicist.
Remote viewing itself has lots of practical applications. But another application is this associative remote viewing, which is primarily used for wagering.
We're very happy with the 5s on the Targ scale, 0 to 7.
The Targ scale?
Yeah.
Is that from Russell Targ?
That's Russell Targ. There were a few others involved at SRI, but he was the first author, and so we call it the SRI Targ scale. That's 4 means you think you made psychic contact, a 5 even stronger, and then a 6 or 7 you really nail it. And one person did that today.
Last call for tickets.
So there were 4 of us, and she just told us to tune into an object that she had, that she was holding, and draw it, start sketching it on a piece of paper. So I did, and I just kind of, you know, they call it beginner's luck, so I had a really big hit on it, and it just made me feel so good, like I had a purpose and something that I was really good at, and I loved that feeling.
Well, we predict the future. We try to wager on it. 76. Oh, it's 76. I don't understand it, and I love that. I love to be confused about it. I love to, you know, it's a great feeling to be lost.
Okay.
And explore.
Hold on. What's going on over here in the background, guys?
Right now we're in the middle of a football game, and we're at a position where at worst we're going to do what is called a push, because we did a wager on over 21 points for the total points in the game. And right now it's at 21 points. So, and there's still about 8 minutes left, and we expect another touchdown.
We had 2 photos, and each photo was paired with a different outcome. And in this case, we were doing the over/under score for a football game.
This is more indicative of that.
And so there were 2 photos. All the viewers want to do is do a session, and they're tasked with view the photo that you're going to see in the future. So this is about precognition, where they're going to see a photo in the future, and they need to describe that photo as accurately as possible.
Water, structure, landscapes, kind of
yeah, that's okay. Just, you know, don't worry about it, but we'll take note of that because that's important.
Yeah.
I think what you may be experiencing is a combination of, you know what? I think you're okay, fine. Thank you. I think he's really good.
And that's the trick that we're trying to all conquer, is that consciously we do view both targets. So we got to be strict in our intention and getting the right one, and it makes it fun.
Usually when people say, oh, so what can I do with remote viewing, it's kind of it's an ambiguous statement. So we need to be more direct in the definition of how it can really help them and why they should do it. It isn't out there more because there are so many skeptics. And it's kind of like you're fighting against a force. And for whatever reason, I can't define the reason, but you know, people, they're also afraid of change, and until people see that this is more common and it's out there, it just has to be out there more. It goes way back to our primitive time when we used intuition, and I think with a lot of technology, we're a little bit distracted from our inner selves and the possibilities of what we can accomplish.
I move a lot of money around the world. I work for big banks. If my boss found out that I was doing this on the weekends, then I could be fired.
I mean, the tasking is describe and sketch your feedback target, period. These are all on 50-50 propositions.
My sports group has a hit rate of 74.4%.
But even 70% is quite significant, and he's moving up from there.
The odds of that happening by chance are very strong. They're over 1 million to 1.
As before, you have about 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and bring your session into the other room, please, when you're finished. It hasn't succeeded really in the scientific world in reaching the mainstream, and it hasn't succeeded through something like IRVA and private companies. And I think our best bet is really through something like APP, where if we can win significant amounts of money, or the stock market or whatever, that, as Marty says, money talks, and we might be able to make a breakthrough that way. Even though we're not doing it primarily for money, we want to see a paradigm change.
What we're about to see is the two potential targets, one of which will be the feedback target that was the viewer's objective, was to describe and sketch that target. And then we will look at transcripts and make our decision on which is the best match. And that will then lead to the over-under prediction for this afternoon's, the game at 11:30.
Okay.
Hold it next to it where Deborah's holding. That's cool.
Now keep in mind he did this really quick. It would be
And
nice for him to
motion
spend a little more
here,
time
if
with it.
that's what that is.
And there's the lines emanating out.
And you keep saying that it looks like a wall behind it.
Spiral, it seemed to be descending or ascending, like there was some elevation change to that spiral.
It's very curved, almost scalloped shape. I don't know if it was like there's wooden bits. And it's like hollow on the back side of it. They were talking about the remote viewing thing, and me and a friend of mine got to arguing about like whether it was real or not. I'll take the class and see if anything comes of it. You know, see if there's anything to this or not. And the first session wasn't that great, but the second one, I literally was just tired, and I thought, okay, I literally started building at what I thought was a castle, and I kept drawing this big arched doorway, and I got German lettering, and I heard somebody speaking in German in the session, and I drew like somebody that looked like, you know, a naval uniform and all this other stuff. Well, it turns out the target was the crash of the Hindenburg, the airship. Like, okay, well, you got German, you distinctly heard somebody speaking German, you saw the lettering, you know, we're not sure what this arched doorway was or any of this other stuff. And that was a little confusing to me because it wasn't in the feedback. All the feedback was the actual footage of the crash. 2 weeks later, I'm doing a little more research, and I saw a picture that of the hangar the Hindenburg was supposed to go into, and it literally was this big giant arched doorway. These it almost looked like a castle with battlements and things across the top of it. And actually, I saw a picture of the rafters for the hangar, and I was like, that's exactly what I drew. So that proved to me that not only I didn't just look at the feedback, I actually went to the target site and was looking and wandering around at this target site, So that told me that you can actually, view something and not just look at the pictures or look at the feedback, so to speak.
It's not too close. I tried to envision the archway, and then I put a picture there, and that's about as close as I got. Maybe gestaltic, maybe the gestalt of the waves and water.
And have you ever?
And salty taste, but it was really just a cursory glance at it. So, and I thought that if it was something that I could learn, remote viewing, that I could, if it was something that worked, maybe I could find out who would win in horse racing. I got results relatively early, and eventually I learned how to trust the structure of the method I was learning. In applying remote viewing to horse racing, we were going after analytic things like the exacta, the patterns of the jockey shirts, the saddlecloth colors, because they denote the post position of the horse in the race. But what I got instead was actually pictures of the horses' names in graphic form. I would draw a picture of the concept of the horse's name, which is something I didn't expect. The subconscious seems to give us the best paying horse. If not the most describable name, it will give us the one that pays the most in show money. That's, in horse racing, it's not just one winner. Everybody's concentrating on the horse that comes across the line first. But the subconscious recognizes that there's more than one winner in the race. And, there's more to us than what we're, I guess, led to believe, or how society's set up, or however you want to phrase it. But for me personally, I see the world a lot differently now. People will realize that not only everything we do goes on record, but it's retrievable. And that would hopefully affect the way that people treat each other, that we're not getting away with anything.
But this is very structural, and so that created a little bit of confusion for some viewers.
The sense of vertigo and whoa, famous for getting seasick and that sort of thing. So I had water and a surfer.
Excellent.
Yeah, that would be a hit.
Yes.
Back in 1999, I read Jim Schnabel's book about remote viewing, and soon after I was able to contact a former remote viewer for the Army, Lynn Buchanan. So I got in contact with Lynn and took his training. So I've been studying remote viewing and kind of the associated fields of paranormal, parapsychology around it, anomalous psychic phenomena for about 15 years.
So I got blue, white, there's a dark colored object, which is probably shorts. I look at this, mechanical, which I think, and I said, this thing is moving fast. It's a movement in the blue, was my descriptor there. Sensor spiraling, and there's a falling, rising motion, a line of action.
It's all a natural process that all of us have, and it depends on how you're raised in your environment, whether you're able to naturally grow up in that kind of openness of human potential, or it closes you down.
I grew up in a very strict religious environment which didn't allow for the development of any sort of psychic functioning. It was really discouraged. And when I kind of broke out of that and saw how the government was using this without a supernatural way, but actually more of a martial arts of the mind, it was really, really invigorating and enlightening. In my very first session, I felt I was on target, and I was very excited because I always knew that my mind had the potential to reach out through time and space and get information. And I was actually able to demonstrate it.
And I did describe the white area, which is over here, a dark area, and
down right next to it.
Character of interest, or the area of interest, which is him. So I did kind of lay out that. And the purpose of this thing was travel/movement. So I guess that is a form of travel. And I described the man-made as being gray, missile, wing of a feather, sail, and water again, and swirling and diving.
having the confirmation. In my experience about remote viewing, there are people who believe it works, and then there are people who know it works. And when you know it works, and you actually begin to start to trust your intuition, it makes your abilities to make, gives you a more confidence in your decision-making ability and the kind of decisions that might change your life for the better or the worse. You're no longer having to agonize over them. You really are trusting your intuition. Your future self is telling you the right decision to make. So, and since I learned and began to study remote viewing, I've done nothing but go up in my career, but also I've been able to enrich my personal relationships and really come to understand my place in the universe and kind of a deeper understanding of space and time. I say interact with space and time because I believe that's what's going on when I'm remote viewing a target. I believe that my future self is looking at the feedback or the photo site and sending that information to myself into the past when I'm actually doing the session. Now, when you start to interact with your future self via your consciousness, you get access to all sorts of new information. Information you might not have ever had before. Remote viewing and learning, the whole practice of learning remote viewing is like getting a new input jack into your brain. So if you imagine your senses, smell, taste, skin, temperature, eyes, are all ways that we gather information to our brain. And remote viewing is an additional sense. A lot of people call it the seventh sense because you have this psychic ability to pick up information if you're open to it.
So side A is the prediction.
You better go down now.
And it's over? It's over?
Yes.
A few minutes to get the bet in. It's a strong hit, so we definitely want to get our money on this game.
I mean, this is
Marty
just
likes
really a lot of
prosperity.
fun. What we've got here are all the tickets of the people who wagered on this game, and a little money just for fun because we've all made a fair amount of money on this. We had one person actually wager $500, and it feels really good.
All right, hey, good news. We, as a group, won $1,297 on this one. And this is not even our full group. A bunch of people went home already, so it would have been a lot more than that if some people didn't leave. So this was the last one of our 4-day adventure, and it ended on a high note. So we're excited, and me and Ben are going to catch an airplane ride back to sunny Illinois.
I mean, what we're really doing is expanding our mind, using our mind to the greatest human potential. So that's a very positive thing. It's a very positive message. It's what every religion would want you to do, actually.
Random is the future as random as we think it is, or how much is predetermined, how much, and at what point does all the probabilities of randomness start colliding down into. Right now, the way I look at it is like the future is like this big fan, and here's all these probabilities of events, but as we get closer to the present, all those probabilities start narrowing down.
I believe there is more to be learned from this.
I think I know.
The money is very nice, a great fringe benefit. In fact, more and more I'm beginning to think of it as an investment because we continue to get odds much better than chance, which means it's an investment. People who do other kinds of investing do it based on their belief in whatever approach they use, even in the stock market, using fundamentals. They believe they've got a good investment. Well, here, using both sports wagering or financial wagering on, say, Forex or stocks, we feel that it's like an investment because we have an edge over chance. It's just an excellent way to invest money using remote viewing.
Cool.
Yeah, that is cool.